In November 2025, an AI-powered ground-penetrating radar system detected a geometric structure 2.3 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice sheet that shouldn't exist. The structure spans 300 square kilometers, shows clear right angles and parallel lines, and is constructed from materials that aren't naturally occurring in Antarctica. Three separate research teams have confirmed the anomaly. Nobody can explain what it is or how it got there. And the truly terrifying part, the structure is warming. Thermal imaging shows temperature increases of 0.7 degrees Celsius over the past 14 months. Something underneath 2 miles of ice is generating heat, and we have no idea what it is or what happens when it gets warm enough to start melting the ice above it. The discovery hasn't been made public yet because researchers can't agree on what they're looking at. Some think it's a geological formation that coincidentally looks artificial. Others think it's evidence of a pre-ice civilization. A few think it's something else entirely. But the AI system that found it has analyzed thousands of similar scans across Antarctica. And according to its pattern recognition algorithms, this structure has 0% probability of being natural. This is what the AI found, why every explanation for it creates more questions, and why the warming signature means we might be running out of time before whatever is down there becomes an immediate problem. The discovery happened during a routine ice sheet stability survey conducted by the British Antarctic Survey. They're using a new system called IceCube that combines ground-penetrating radar with machine learning algorithms designed to identify subsurface anomalies. The AI was trained to find geological features that might affect ice stability, like voids, water pockets, and rock formations. It found those things just fine. Mapped thousands of natural geological features across the survey area. But then it flagged one location with an error message researchers had never seen before. The AI's classification system returned artificial structure probability 97% and stopped processing. The lead researcher thought it was a software bug. It wasn't. The structure sits beneath the Wilkesland region of East Antarctica, under 2,300 meters of solid ice. Ground-penetrating radar revealed clear geometric patterns at that depth. Multiple parallel lines running perfectly straight for over 15 kilometers. Perpendicular intersections creating grid patterns. Right angles that deviate less than 0.3 degrees from 90 degrees. And the whole thing is constructed from material that reflects radar differently than Antarctic bedrock. Here's why this is unprecedented. Natural geological formations don't create perfect right angles. Tectonic activity creates fractured, irregular patterns. Volcanic activity creates radial patterns. Glacial erosion creates curved, flowing shapes. Right angles and parallel lines over 15 kilometers require either incredible coincidence or deliberate construction. The research team ran every natural explanation through the AI. Could it be intersecting fault lines? The AI said fault lines don't maintain parallel spacing over that distance. Could it be columnar basalt formations? The AI said basalt columns are hexagonal, not rectangular, and don't span hundreds of square kilometers. Could it be sedimentary layers? The AI said sedimentary layers don't create perpendicular intersections. The AI kept returning the same conclusion. The probability that this is a natural formation is less than 3%. The probability that it's artificial is over 97%. And the AI won't classify it as anything else because its training data doesn't include anything that matches this pattern except human construction. But here's the problem. Human civilization hasn't existed long enough to build something under 2 miles of Antarctic ice. The ice sheet is 34 million years old in some areas, and at minimum 15 million years old where this structure was found. Humans evolved 300,000 years ago. Modern civilization is 12,000 years old. The timeline doesn't work unless someone built this before the ice sheet formed, which would mean Antarctica was once ice-free and inhabited. Or something else built it. The structure itself is weird enough. A separate research team using satellite thermal imaging detected something that turned weird geological curiosity into potentially urgent situation. The structure is producing heat. Thermal satellite data going back to 2011 shows baseline subsurface temperatures in that region holding steady at -23 degrees Celsius. That's normal for ice-covered bedrock at that depth and latitude. But starting in October 2023, temperatures began rising, slowly at first. 0.1 degree increase over 3 months, then accelerating, zero point 0.3 degrees over the next 3 months. As of January 2025, the subsurface temperature at the structure location is -22.3 degrees Celsius. That's a 0.7 degree increase in 14 months in Antarctica. Under 2 miles of ice, where temperatures have been stable for thousands of years. Natural geothermal activity doesn't behave like this. Geothermal heat sources are steady state. They don't suddenly start warming after remaining constant for a decade. Volcanic activity shows rapid temperature spikes, not gradual warming over months. Tectonic movement generates heat during the movement itself, then cools. This is sustained, accelerating warming with no geological explanation. But here's what makes this terrifying. If the warming continues at the current rate, subsurface temperatures will reach 0 degrees Celsius in approximately 6 years. At 0 degrees, ice starts melting. At that depth, melted ice creates pressurized water. Pressurized water finds cracks. Cracks expand. Ice sheets destabilize. And that's the best-case scenario where the warming levels off. If it accelerates, which the data suggests it's doing, the timeline shrinks. We could be looking at subsurface melting beginning within 3 to 4 years. The research team modeling this won't publish their findings yet because they can't explain the heat source. You can't publish something as warming under Antarctica, and we don't know what it is in a scientific journal without proposing a mechanism. But they also can't ignore it because if that ice destabilizes, the consequences are immediate and catastrophic. Scientists propose explanations. For this structure, there are 3 main theories. All of them have problems. Theory 1 is that it's a pre-ice age civilization. Antarctica wasn't always frozen. 40 million years ago, it was temperate and forested. The theory goes that an unknown civilization existed before the ice sheet formed and built this structure. Then climate change buried it under ice for millions of years. The problem is timing. The Wilkesland ice sheet is at least 15 million years old. Anatomically modern humans evolved 300,000 years ago. Even if you assume an unknown pre-human intelligent species, you're still claiming that something built geometric structures with right angles and grid patterns. 15 million years ago, nothing in the fossil record suggests that level of intelligence existed then. And if it did, why is there only one structure? Why haven't we found others? Why is this the only evidence of their existence? Theory 2 is that it's a natural formation we don't understand yet. Geology is complicated. Maybe there's some process involving crystal formation, pressure, and specific mineral compositions that creates geometric patterns under extreme conditions. Maybe we just haven't discovered it yet, because we've never looked this carefully under Antarctic ice before. The problem is the AI specifically analyzed this possibility. Modern machine learning systems have been trained on every known geological formation on Earth. The pattern doesn't match anything in the database. For this to be natural, it would have to be a geological process that has never been observed, documented, or theorized anywhere else on the planet. Possible? Technically. Likely? The AI says no. Theory 3 is equipment malfunction or data interpretation error. Maybe the ground-penetrating radar is malfunctioning. Maybe the AI is finding patterns in noise. Maybe researchers are seeing what they want to see because anomalies are exciting and weird rock formation doesn't get headlines. The problem is verification. 3 separate research teams using different equipment have confirmed the same structure. The AI has been tested with control data and performs perfectly. The radar data has been manually analyzed by geophysicists who confirm the geometric patterns are present in the raw data, not artifacts of AI processing. So we're left with three unsatisfying explanations and one structure that keeps contradicting all of them by existing exactly where it shouldn't, in exactly the configuration it shouldn't have. The structure could sit under Antarctica forever and remain a mystery that occasionally gets mentioned in research papers. The warming means we might not have that luxury of time. Here's the concern that's keeping Antarctic researchers awake. The Wilkes Land region sits above the Aurora subglacial basin, one of the largest subglacial basins in Antarctica. If the structure's warming destabilizes ice in that region, it could trigger what glaciologists call a marine ice sheet instability event. The technical details are complicated, but the outcome is simple. Ice sheets sitting below sea level on bedrock are vulnerable to collapse if warming creates enough meltwater to separate ice from bedrock. Once that separation starts, warm ocean water can flow underneath, accelerating melting from below. The ice sheet doesn't slowly melt from the top down over centuries. It rapidly destabilizes from the bottom up over decades. The Aurora Basin contains enough ice to raise global sea levels by 3 to 5 meters. That's 10 to 16 feet. If that ice destabilizes because something underneath it is warming, coastal cities around the world have a problem. Not in a century. In decades, maybe less. Now, the warming might stop. The structure might stabilize at current temperatures. The thermal anomaly might have a perfectly natural explanation that researchers just haven't identified yet. But the data shows warming that's sustained and accelerating with no clear cause and no sign of leveling off. And nobody can explain what happens if it doesn't stop. Is there something active down there that's turning on? Is it a chemical reaction triggered by pressure or temperature changes in the ice itself? Is it volcanic activity that somehow evaded detection until now? Every explanation requires inventing new scenarios because nothing in our current understanding fits the data. The worst-case scenarios are being quietly discussed in research groups, but not published because they sound too much like science fiction. What if the structure is technological and it's reactivating after millions of years dormant? What if it's a natural heat source that's been trapped under ice and is now releasing energy as the ice shifts? What if it's a runaway reaction that will continue accelerating until it catastrophically destabilizes the ice sheet? Nobody knows. But the thermal data keeps showing warming. And every month that passes means we're closer to finding out what happens next. The researchers did something interesting. They fed all the available data into the AI system without constraints and asked it to generate the most probable explanation based purely on pattern matching without regard for plausibility. The AI said the structure's geometry most closely resembles a network, not a building, not a road system, but a network. The kind of pattern you see in electrical grids, computer circuits, or neural pathways. Interconnected nodes with regular spacing connected by straight-line pathways, optimized for efficient distribution of something from multiple sources to multiple endpoints. When asked what geological process creates networks, the AI said none. Networks are organizational patterns that emerge from systems that transport or distribute resources. Rivers create branching patterns, not networks. Cracks create radial or random patterns, not networks. Sediment creates layered patterns, not networks. Networks require coordination across the entire system to maintain efficiency. Then the researchers asked the AI to estimate the structure's purpose based on its geometry. The AI responded that without knowing what's being transported or distributed, it can't determine purpose. But based on the scale and the regular node spacing, it's optimized for covering a large area with redundant pathways. Whatever this network does, it's designed to do it reliably across 300 square kilometers. And when they asked why it might be warming, the AI said that networks typically warm when they become active. Electrical networks warm when carrying current. Biological networks warm during metabolic activity. Thermal networks warm when transferring heat. The warming pattern is consistent with something in the network starting to function after being dormant. The AI can't tell you what it is, but it can tell you what it looks like. And what it looks like is something designed to do something across a very large area that's starting to turn on after a very long time of being off. That's not proof of anything. AI pattern recognition isn't the same as scientific verification. But it's another data point that makes this more unsettling. We have a geometric structure that shouldn't exist, showing warming that shouldn't be happening, with a pattern that suggests function rather than random formation. Right now, this discovery sits in a strange administrative limbo. It's been confirmed by enough research teams that it can't be dismissed as error, but it's too anomalous to fit into standard publishing frameworks. Papers are being written, but they're stuck in peer review because reviewers keep asking for explanations that don't exist yet. The thermal monitoring continues. Multiple satellites are now tracking the temperature signature, and the data is being shared across research institutions. If the warming accelerates further or shows signs of affecting ice stability, it will escalate from scientific curiosity to immediate monitoring priority. There's quiet discussion about attempting direct investigation. Drilling through 2,300 meters of Antarctic ice is technically possible, but phenomenally expensive and logistically difficult. It requires specialized equipment, months of on-site work, and international cooperation because Antarctica is protected by treaty. Nobody wants to fund that based on, "We found something weird and want to see what it is." That calculation changes. If there's any possibility this could destabilize the Aurora Basin ice, the cost of drilling becomes trivial compared to the cost of not knowing what's causing it. So we wait. Satellites watch. AI systems analyze. Researchers model scenarios. And every month, the temperature ticks up another fraction of a degree, while something underneath 2 miles of Antarctic ice slowly warms for reasons nobody can explain. The structure is real. The warming is real. The geometric patterns are confirmed. Everything else is speculation, theories, and increasingly urgent questions that don't have answers yet. Whatever is under that ice has been there for millions of years doing nothing. Now it's doing something. And we're going to find out what it is whether we want to or not, because at the current warming rate, it's going to make itself known within the next few years. The only question is whether we figure out what it is before it becomes an immediate problem, or if we're still arguing about theories when the ice starts to crack.